We have the coach ready. He's anxious for your questions. We'll start over here on the right side, the third row.
Alex Byington on 3. Sark, you've mentioned quite often this offseason what Arch has done to kind of establish himself as the leader. The other players, Michael and Anthony have mentioned that he's taken more kind of authority in the room, in the locker room. How have you seen that play out, and what's an example that you like to think about?
Yeah, I think that, naturally for a player, especially like Arch is a great teammate, and he's humble, he's got great work ethic, he's very relatable to the guys, and I felt like coming into this year, and I think Arch would be the first one to tell you, one of the more challenging things to do is when you're a great teammate and you're working hard, but you haven't been that frontline guy yet, is how do you take on that authoritative state when you haven't yet done it, right? And what we've had to explain to him was, you've earned it. He's earned it. He's earned the respect of his teammates that way. And so I think now more than ever, there hasn't been some, gigantic thing that he's had to do, but you feel his presence much more on a regular basis that way. But you feel it in a way where it's authentic to him. And he's not trying to be something that he's not. And I think that that's probably the most key component in his growth as we've been going through it.
Right side in the back.
Travis Tyndall, ESPN Austin. Good afternoon, Coach Sarkisian. Hey. As a competitor, how do you feel about the awesome chance to play the team that you last played the first game out of the chute, and personally, and how does the team feel?
Yeah, I think the competitor in you loves the opportunity because it's like, well, that's the next chance is the same sting that you felt. The reality of it is, when you really dive deep into it, we're different teams again. We're a different team. They're a different team. A lot of new faces, transfers, different players, different coaches, different coordinators. And so once you get over the emotion of being excited to play that same team again, and you drill down to the tactical part of it all, which is, man, we got a lot of work to do. This is a very talented team. They got new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. We've got some new coaches that we're getting acclimated to what we're doing. We've got new faces, new players that we're going to be counting on, some transfers and things. You start to shift the focus away from the emotional side, and you start drilling into, this is going to be a good team. It's going to be a tough environment. We're going to need to play good football that day to come out on top. And so that's where our focus goes to. And I think our players in the same vein. The competitor in you is easy. Yeah, we want to go win that game. We want to go avenge the loss. But the reality is, this is a whole new year and different set of circumstances obviously on the table, but obviously recognizing and respecting that this is a heck of an opponent. It's going to be a great challenge.
Left side, third row.
Hi, Coach. AP Stedham, AP as we see it. Coach, what did your team do well last year, and what would you like to do slightly better?
Yeah, I think a couple things we did well last year was we got after the football on defense, and we got after it a variety of ways. We created turnovers in the passing game. I thought our secondary played really good football last year. We were able to get after the quarterback and get him on the ground and cause fumbles. And so that aspect of defense, we were violent, we were fast, we created turnovers. Offensively, everyone's going to want me to say we need to be better in the red area, which is true. We need to take care of the ball better on offense. We were way too loose with the ball, too many turnovers, too many times where we could have really seized games and didn't because we turned the ball over, or we put our defense in an unfortunate situation. And on the next thing is the kicking game needed to improve from where we were last year. And we made some adjustments there. That our field goal percentage wasn't where we wanted it to be. The punting game, especially early in the year, wasn't where we wanted it to be. So you try to just address those areas. You put more of an emphasis on taking care of the ball. You go out to the portal and you get a punter and you get a kicker. So you try to address the issues that you have to try to get better at those things, all the while continue on the things that you do well, which I thought we did a great job last year, as I said, on defense of getting after the football.
Middle, third row, then pass it one behind.
Nick Kelly, AL.com. Ryan Grubb and his offenses, you've coached against a few of them, or your staff has during his time at Washington. Just kind of want the scouting report. What is Alabama getting in him as a play caller?
Well, I've only gone against him one time if I'm right about that. And they had a really good passing team. I mean, they had Michael Penix and receivers, and definitely a attack-oriented group that's gonna attack you vertically with shots down the field, gonna attack you from a screen game, multiple shifts, formations, things that challenge you that way. It's a definitely a pro-style approach where the quarterback's gonna have his opportunities to take his shots at you down the field.
Front row.
How you doing, Coach? Tony Reese, WTVM out of Columbus, Georgia. Just want to talk about newcomer Justice Terry and kind of the immediate impact you hope to really utilize him with.
Yeah, Justice has been a great addition. He's got high work ethic, high drive, loves the game of football. He gives us some real position flex. He's a guy that can play some interior defensive line, but can also play kind of defensive end for us. And so that position flex, that position versatility has been good for us, and I think that's going to allow us an opportunity to get him on the field quicker because he can do multiple things well.
Here in the middle.
Tyler Shaw with KBTX in College Station. How much did you enjoy being a part of the renewal of the Lone Star Showdown last year, and how much are you looking forward to it returning to Austin this year?
Yeah, that was awesome. Lone Star Showdown was a really cool environment and great atmosphere in Kyle Field. Night game, a lot on the table. Not only just the rivalry in itself, but the winner of that game was going to get an opportunity to play in the SEC championship. And like I said, it's one that I'm glad we've been able to get going again. It's a historic one, great matchups, great teams, great players, great coaches, and so like any rivalry for me, I'm humbled and honored that I get to be part of it now. Because as a kid, those are the ones you watched, right? And you got a chance to see those games on Thanksgiving weekend between Texas and A&M. And so to be part of it now, it's pretty special, and now to have the Aggies come to DKR for the first time, and I don't know how long, is pretty special. And I'm sure there'll be a lot riding on that game too, Friday night, after Thanksgiving.
Right side, third row, then pass it to your right behind you.
Jeff Howe on Texas Football. Sark, just on the perimeter skill talent on both sides, seems like you and Coach Jackson are getting some bigger-bodied, wider-frame guys in the receiver room. Is that something you guys sought out to do, or is it a byproduct of just kind of who was on the board? And then do you feel like you've got the bodies down at corner, the types of skill sets you've talked about being sticky in man coverage? I think since you got here, do you feel like you've got the guys now to where you can do more of that?
Yeah, no, it's been a little bit intentional of recruiting a little bigger at the wideout spot. One thing about this conference, I don't want to say that underestimated, but you better have one or the other. You better have elite speed or you better have some size about you because it's so physical on the perimeter. And everybody's throwing perimeter screens. The corners in this league are long and physical and can run. And so if you want to be effective, which that is a part of our game that we want to be effective at, of getting that ball on the edge, you got to be able to block these people, and if you can't block them, they're going to run right through you, and it feels like a wasted play. You're at 2nd and 12. I could have ran a dive, to do that. And so we felt like we've had to evolve a little bit that way. Obviously, Wingo provides that. Emmett Mosley's got some good size to him. Jamie French, Kalik Lockett, those guys. So, Parker Livingstone. So I think that can help us. So it was a little bit strategic that way to do that. On the defensive side of the ball, on the flip side, the same thing. You better be able to stop these perimeter screens or people will kill you and walk down the field on you. But so you got to have the physicality to do that. But then if you're going to play close to them, now you got to have the ability to run with them and to play in coverage that way. And so I think that we've grown in confidence as a staff to play more man coverage. Even when we're playing zone, we're giving the players some freedom to make calls to play man, and we're promoting that with them to do that. And so it's a lot easier to get to the quarterback when the quarterback's got to hold the ball another second longer because his receiver's trying to get himself open versus man coverage. When it's zone and everybody's getting free releases, I don't care how good your rush is. If the quarterback's worth half a paint, he gonna get the ball out. So you gotta be able to play some man and mix it up and change up looks to get a guy to hold on to the ball to try to get to the quarterback.
In the middle, back row.
Hey, Steve. Jackson Arnold was up here earlier, and they asked him another rivalry question about obviously playing in Red River and now his opportunity to play in the Iron Bowl. I said, you're uniquely qualified to answer that question as someone who's coached in both of those rivalry games. What are some of the similarities and differences that you've observed?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Red River Rivalry is a unique game in and of it, that it's a neutral site game in Dallas every year at the State Fair. And the way the stadium is split at the 50-yard line, one tunnel, both locker rooms right there, it creates a great deal of intensity. It's an awesome game to be part of. In my opinion, it's the best one I've ever been a part of. And that's to take nothing away from the Iron Bowl, because that's amazing too. But different in that it goes back and forth, home game to home game. I do know when you're at Alabama and you go to Auburn, probably the toughest place to play in the country. You know, in that game in particular, as an opponent going into Jordan-Hare Stadium, it's one of the loudest things I've ever heard, and so that creates its own challenges that way too. So it's a great game. I think rivalries in college football are what make this thing so special, and the fact that, like, I've been a part of some great ones, man, and those are two of them, but I've just been fortunate that way to be part of some really cool ones.
Right side, fourth row.
Levon Whitaker, KXAN in Austin. Coach, I want to get your thoughts on Michael Tapp and his tie. Did you hear about it before you seen it? Did he talk to you? And what are your thoughts on a guy like your leader doing something like this off the field to just use his platform for those that were impacted in the Texas floods?
Yeah, you know, anything Michael does never surprises me. You know, he's a very big thinker, but he's above of a very big thinker. He's a very big doer. He takes action and he follows up his words with action. And so when he committed to supporting this, it was about action. It wasn't about, you know, yeah, we're supporting it, but then there was no follow through. But that's been the story of his career with us. You know, it's been about taking action and supporting those affected by the floods in Central Texas. There's nothing that he's doing around this that is surprising to me, because that's who he is. He's a go-getter. He's an idea guy, and he's a go-getter. I mean, he takes action, and that's what he's doing again in this instance.
In the middle, second row.
Coach Gavin Baxley, WTXK in Montgomery. With the new changes to NIL, how has your program handled all of the different changes, but especially third-party NIL deals?
Well, I think that's unique because the changes are still going on, you know, and so we tried to be forward thinking. You know, naturally what we've tried to do is submit as many third-party NIL deals as we can to see what's getting passed and what isn't, and we're starting to get some of those things back. And so the point being, I think it's a slippery slope when you rely upon third-party NIL deals as part of a revenue share, as part of a publicity rights, or as part of a contract with a player. Because if those deals get denied, now that money's coming out of your cap. If you go over your cap, now me as the head coach, I get punished. And I don't want to be suspended. You know, they pay me pretty good money to stand on the sidelines and coach our guys. And so we have to be mindful of that. And so we're probably taking a little bit more of a conservative approach than maybe others, and that's okay. You know, everybody's going to attack this thing a little bit differently. But like I said, you know, we've got a really good roster today. And I think we're going to have a really good roster the next year. And my goal is that we're going to continue to have really good rosters for years to come. And part of that is recruiting new players. Part of that is retaining the players that we do have. Part of that is recruiting players out of the portal. But to do that, we've got to be mindful of the resources that we have available, and not overextend ourselves and to make promises and writing checks that can't be cashed.
Left side, second row.
Hey, Coach. Bruce Marshall from WHBQ Memphis. You, Lane Kiffin, Kyle Whittingham, Andy Reid. This is a tremendous coaching tree, and I researched it more, and it just goes for pages. It all leads back to Lavelle Edwards. I don't think any coach has that sort of impact with that sort of a coaching tree. What was it when you were playing there? Could you sense, and what did you pick up from that seemed to be special that all these other coaches picked up too?
You left out a great one, Mike Leach.
Mike Leach?
Yeah. Hal Mummy. You know, there's been some great coaches. You know, I think that Coach Edwards was a little ahead of his time. And, you know, going back even in the early 80s, you know, when he had Mark Wilson when he had Jim McMahon, when he had Steve Young, Robbie Bosco. BYU was throwing the ball, before anybody was really throwing the ball. A lot of teams are still in the wishbone, and they made a decision to throw the ball. That was going to be their way to win, and that was what was going to make them different than some of the other schools. As it evolved into my time when I got there in the mid-'90s, it was still growing. And what it really grew into, that offense, a lot of great minds, moved on from there. Norm Chow, different people had moved on from there. But what came out of it was the air raid offense. And when Hal Mumme and Mike Leach left, that the air raid became the air raid when they went to Valdosta in Kentucky, and then all of that tree of the air raid coaches now became, and look at that tree from Cliff and Lincoln and all the guys that have gone on to do great things there as well. So, ton of respect for Coach Edwards, learned a ton from him. I wouldn't be the head coach today had I not played for him, in his ability to make you feel confident as a player that you could go out and do the job that you were asked to go do.
Coach, terrific job. I wish we had more time. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Hook 'em.